Good Yontiv, Shana Tova. The humorist and columnist Art Buchwald, who was the leading humorist of his time, of his day, he fell into ill health when he was in his 70s. He had a leg amputated because of diabetes. And he went into hospice, and he believed his death was near. And he cared about the big picture, how he was going to be remembered after he died. So he decided to plan his own funeral. And he arranged to have his friends send in their eulogies ahead of time. And he told them, I cannot give you an exact time for the service or for the date, but it's going to be happening at Washington Hebrew Congregation. And they each had 3 minutes. And he said, please RSVP to this letter if I am still here. And then his friends and his family and politicians were all invited and began to pour into his hospice room to say goodbye. But to his surprise and everyone's else, he didn't die. And his room got called the best social lounge in town. And he eventually wrote a book about his diagnosis, the experience, and it was called Too Soon to Die. And he went all in, and it made sense. He was someone who thought deeply and humorously, and he wanted to shape his legacy and to have a moment of togetherness. And he looked at death, he looked at his life, and he made a plan. It didn't quite work. He was standing before God on the day of his death, and he was saying, this is what I want my life to have been about. And looking back, it was humorous, but it was also moving. And this is what Yom Kippur is about. It is a day where we stand before God and think, how do we want to be remembered? It is, of course, also about the way in which we lead our lives, the inner life, the qualities, the quirks. Yes, our accomplishments, from career to family, to our hobbies, how we treat our neighbors, and all those who sought our help, the music of our days and years. And the traditional belief on Yom Kippur that this is a day that the judgment is sealed, and God is looking down on us and we are rock bottom. Who knows what will happen? And really it's a reminder of the fate that hangs over us every day and how we are going to respond to that challenge. This is a very vulnerable place to be in, very vulnerable. It's also a place of clarity, of profound truth and honesty, where all falsehood and facades and pretense are stripped away. Rock bottom, ourselves and nothing else. And yet it's also a place of blessing, because that place is our Even Shtiyah. The Even Shtiyah, we are taught, as a foundation stone upon which the ancient temple in Jerusalem was built, or as my son Adir says, the Asian temple. But there was one stone that supported all the rest, and that fragile stone, our rock bottom self, with everything else stripped away, is what supports the rest. And truly it's the only part of us that is real. And it's not easy to find, because there's a whole building sitting on top of it. And on this sacred day, we do not drink or eat. We do not engage in any of the activities that normally take up our time and our attention and our energy. And it's an opportunity to peel away all the extra layers and to get rid of all those stories that we are so good at telling ourselves about who we are and who we aren't, and what life is about, to take that honest look at ourselves and see who is under there. And we can laugh a little with the self-deprecating humor of Art Buchwald. It can make you want to have a gathering with your friends to celebrate the absurdity of your own life, of all life, and the wonder of it too. And to think about the deeper questions, why we are here and who we are. What do I want from the rest of my life? I do not know how much time that I have left, but how do I want to spend what time remains with me? And this is our Hine Yom Hadin moment. Behold, this is the day of judgment, as we say in the Unetane Tokef prayer. In truth you are judge, the exhorter, the all-knowing, the witness, he who inscribes and seals, remembering all that is forgotten. You open the book of remembrance which proclaims itself, and the seal of each person is there. The great shofar is sounded, a still small voice is heard. The angels are dismayed. They are seized by fear and trembling as they proclaim, behold, the day of judgment. This is the day that we wonder, what was it all about? My years, the things I put my energies into, the people I met, the places I saw, the joys I had, the sorrows I suffered, the hills I climbed, the valleys I fell into, the walk I took into the world. Da milifnei ata umed. Know before whom you stand. And in many synagogues, these are the words that are written above the ark. It is from the Talmud, and a stark reminder before whom we stand. We stand before the Holy One, blessed be He. In Pirkei Avot, the Ethics of the Fathers teaches, Akavia ben Machalalel said, reflect upon three things and you will not come to sin. Know from where you came and where you are going, and before whom you are destined to give account and reckoning. From where have you come? From a putrid drop. Where are you going? To the place of dust, worm and maggot. Before whom are you destined to give account and reckoning? Before the Supreme Sovereign of Sovereign, the Holy One, blessed be He. And it also makes us think what we take with us, just ourselves, and what we do not, everything else. And how do we want to leave this world in peace? And Art Buchwald, thinking his end had come, he had a party where people could share their sincere thoughts, and all the relationships of his life were there. And it was crazy and intense and tender and love. He really wanted to be surrounded by love. Last year, someone who I was close to passed away. She was the equivalent of Mary Poppins in my life. She was my nanny when I was young, and she was only 10, 15 years older than me. And in her last days, she invited two people whom she considered to be her religious teachers to spend those final 2 days with her, preparing to cross over to the other side, as they say. And she saw her children too, who were only teenagers, but mainly she wanted to prepare for crossing over. How do we want to leave this world? How do we want others to remember us? These are the questions that echo in our minds on Yom Kippur. And the answer, of course, is as someone of value, someone worth remembering, as we say above our beloved departed, livracha, for a blessing. And we know in truth that that cannot be engineered. But we prepare by remembering the advice of Pirkei Avot, remember the day of your death. So our traditional garb on Yom Kippur was white, a kittel, a white robe for men, same as a tachrichin, the shrouds that Jewish people are buried in. And this is the day where we come as close to spiritual death as one can without danger to self. And the white kittel and the shrouds we are buried in, they symbolize that who we were and what we accomplished in our life are stripped away. And when the Chevra Kadisha comes and says prayers over us and washes and prepares our bodies for purification, the tahara, all there is a body. They have no more information about who this person was. And we also wear this kittel when we are married. But the rest, in this moment, we forget. And in those moments, the kittel moments, marriage, Yom Kippur, death, that's where we find life. We find the beautiful, precious, moving life in all of its power. Friendship and companionship, our highest values, love, forgiveness, wisdom, all that we are seeking. When my friend passed away, she shared just a few weeks before an audio message that was sent out to all of her WhatsApp group of beloved friends and family about what she would answer when she got up there and they asked her what she had learned during her time in this world. I think I would say to them, but the most important thing I learned on planet Earth is love. And what I learned about love is that you have to drop your story about how you think you need to receive love. And you will receive so much love in so many ways that you did not imagine even possible once you drop your story about how it needs to look or feel or how it needs to arrive in your life. And whatever it is, it's all about love. And just be so grateful that you can receive it from the cat, from the dog, from the daisy, from unexpected interactions with a passerby, with an unexpected smile. So I would say, just be open to receiving love any way that it comes to you. And one of the gifts of being very poorly as I am, is that you get to just see and receive so much love that you kind of sort of knew was there, but it becomes much, much, much more openly expressed. And this is life. This is the foundation stone. This is the ikar. This is the essence. And in that space you find life, the life of the mourner's Kaddish. Yehei Shmei Rabbah L'olam Omer Maya. May his great name be blessed forever and ever for all worlds. That we are taught in the Talmud gives joy to the Holy One, saddened by our broken fate every time he or she hears those words. And there's the life of the Ner Tamid, of the eternal light that hangs above our synagogues, a sign of our Jewish continuity and of our love for Torah and God and the life of before whom you stand. Everything else cleared away. And it was the journey also of the high priest through all of the purifying ritual baths, the mikvahs, and the sacrifices that he offered on this day, the times before the holy day when he had to be kept apart for those 7 days from his family to prepare for this day of great awe. And on this day, he would step into the Holy of Holies in that most sacred space, and it was just he and his life. And he would be able to touch the infinite and eternal. Then he would come back out, and all the blessing for the new year came flooding into him, all the clarity, all the life. And we are also trying to achieve that same experience on this day. Find life, find love, find clarity, find that foundation stone of who we are. And to understand, what is my life about? And to know who am I and how I want to be remembered. And to know before whom I stand. So let us remember that this is what we are doing in synagogue today. And why we took a day off of our busy lives to be here. And why we are following these very ancient customs. To remember what it means to be part of a Jewish people. And to stand once a year and just go through this profound inner process and reckoning, and not to forget it, and never for it to be lost. And yes, we are but a drop in the cosmos, but that is not the whole picture. There is life and love at the core of the universe, from our friends, from our spouses, our children, our community members, all of it, all of the nature around us, the cat, the dog, the daisy. If only we can learn to receive it and to bring it to the surface a little bit more. Today, tomorrow, the next day, as long as it is before the day of our death. If only we can learn to live from that place of love and awareness and of gratitude every day. And will we remember it tonight, after everything that's been stripped away from us is restored, after we leave this dedicated space and we stop hearing all of the prayers in our machzor, after we eat and drink again and forget about our thirst and our hunger, and we are back in our comfort, and we enter back the regular flow of our lives, after the building has been built up back again over our foundation stone, will we remember? We remember this sacred, real, and true moment. And what will we do with this moment? Where will we take it? How will we hold on to it? My father-in-law was very close to Art Buchwald, a dear friend of his. And he told me that experience in the hospital, for all that it was a scene in the end and humorous, but in its way, profoundly affected Art. People did care for him. He'd been in and out of foster homes his whole life, growing up, and he wondered if people really cared about him, if they loved him. And they did. And he shared in what was important. And his bed was placed in the reception area of the hospice. And every day, Ethel Kennedy came, and all of his best friends and politicians, Donald Rumsfeld. And he was in good humor, and wonderful conversations happened with everybody, heart to heart. And there were just people who came in to greet him and then left. And he now knew how loved he was. And he wrote in this introduction to the book, Too Soon to Die, what started out the worst of times ended up being the best of times. The big news in 2006, I am still alive. And he also wrote a column entitled The Last Laugh. The doctors gave me 3 weeks to die. I never knew it could be so much fun to die. And he did pass away a year later. And he was grateful he found the love that he had always looked for. So on this day, at this Kittul moment, let us remember before whom we stand and what we are doing here in synagogue as we are every year. How we are remembered is based on how we live. Let us not wait until our last days, but act today for this very moment. To actualize the power of love, of giving love, and of receiving love, and life, and truth, to bless our lives. Good Yantiv, Chag Sameach.